Rain pressed against the city like a weight that morning, turning sidewalks into mirrors and dreams into fragile things, and as the single father stood at the bus stop clutching a thin folder that held his future, he had no idea that one small choice made in the next few minutes would quietly rewrite his entire life. His interview suit was already damp at the cuffs, his shoes worn thin from years of careful saving, and his phone buzzed with a reminder he could not afford to ignore, because this interview was not just a job opportunity but the last door left open after years of sacrifice, rejection, and silent endurance. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that one good decision can change everything, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel name, because stories like this only matter when they are felt and passed on. He had been awake since before dawn, packing his young daughter's lunch, braiding her hair with clumsy fingers, and leaving her with a neighbor who charged less than daycare but more than he could comfortably afford. Every step he took toward the city center felt heavy, not just with rain but with responsibility. Since his wife had passed away 3 years earlier, life had become a careful balancing act between grief and duty. He worked nights at a warehouse, took freelance shifts whenever possible, and slept in fragments that never quite added up to rest. This interview, for a stable office position with benefits, meant regular hours, health insurance, and the possibility of being home before his daughter fell asleep. It was the dream he had been quietly carrying, folded neatly into hope. As he turned the corner near the old underpass, he noticed a woman sitting on the concrete steps, soaked, trembling, and clearly unwell. Her coat was thin, her hair plastered to her face, and her hands shook as she tried to steady herself against the cold stone. Most people hurried past, eyes fixed ahead, afraid of delay or involvement. He slowed without thinking, his feet stopping even as his mind screamed that he was already late. He told himself he would just check if she was okay, just 1 minute, nothing more. Up close, he saw the fear in her eyes, the kind that comes not from drama but from helplessness. She was dizzy, struggling to breathe evenly, and clearly not in a state to stand. He looked at his watch, then at her, then back at the bus stop sign glowing faintly through the rain. Helping her would cost him time he did not have, but walking away would cost him something he could never get back. He knelt beside her, using his jacket to shield her from the rain, and called for medical help. The dispatcher's calm questions contrasted sharply with the chaos in his chest as he explained her condition, his location, and waited. Minutes stretched. The rain did not stop. His phone buzzed again with another reminder, then went silent. He tried to keep the woman alert, offering reassurance with gentle words, holding her hand to keep her grounded. She clung to him like someone holding onto the last solid thing in a storm. When the ambulance finally arrived, nearly 40 minutes had passed. Paramedics took over, thanking him quickly before loading her inside. One of them asked if he was family. He shook his head, already knowing the truth of what that answer meant for his day. By the time the street returned to its usual rhythm, his interview time had come and gone. The bus arrived late, mocking him with its headlights. He stood there for a long moment, rain soaking into his clothes, feeling the sharp, quiet pain of another door closing. There was no dramatic collapse, no tears in the street, just a heavy stillness as he accepted what he believed was the cost of doing the right thing. He went to work that night at the warehouse, his body aching, his mind replaying the moment again and again, wondering if kindness always had to be paid for in loss. The following day passed in a blur of exhaustion. He picked up his daughter, cooked dinner, helped with homework, and smiled when she laughed, even though something inside him felt permanently bruised. He did not tell anyone about the missed interview. Some disappointments felt too personal to explain. That evening, as he folded laundry, his phone rang with an unfamiliar number. He almost ignored it, assuming it was another reminder of bills or unpaid balances, but something made him answer. The call was brief and confusing. The voice on the other end asked his name, confirmed where he had been the previous morning, and told him that someone wanted to meet him. No explanation, no apology for the interruption, just a time and a place. He spent the night restless, torn between skepticism and curiosity, wondering if this was some cruel twist or a mistake. 5 hours after the moment he had chosen compassion over ambition, the woman's father arrived at the hospital where she was being treated, his fear turning into relief as doctors explained that she had been hours away from serious complications. He listened carefully as staff mentioned a stranger who had stayed with her, who had called for help, who had not left until she was safe. The father, a man accustomed to control and solutions, felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest, a gratitude so deep it demanded action. The meeting took place in a modest office building, not the towering corporate space he had imagined when dreaming of success. The father greeted him with a seriousness that felt heavy but not unkind. There were no raised voices, no dramatic revelations, just a calm explanation of who he was and why he was there. He spoke of his daughter's condition, of how close they had come to losing her, and of the quiet heroism of a man who had nothing to gain and everything to lose. The single father listened, uncomfortable with praise, unsure where this was leading. When the conversation turned to his life, his work, and the interview he had missed, he felt a familiar sting of embarrassment. He explained without bitterness, stating facts the way someone does when they have learned not to expect sympathy. The father nodded, absorbing every word, and then did something unexpected. He apologized, not for his daughter's condition, but for the way the world so often forces good people to choose between survival and kindness. What followed did not feel like a miracle, because miracles are loud and obvious. This was quieter, heavier, and more real. An offer was made, not as charity, but as recognition. A position within one of the father's affiliated companies, suited to his skills, with hours that respected family life and a salary that would ease years of strain. There were no conditions attached, no expectations of loyalty beyond honest work. Just an acknowledgement that character mattered, and that sometimes the right choice deserved to be met halfway by the universe. He did not accept immediately. Years of disappointment had taught him caution. But as days passed, the offer remained, unchanged, patient. He eventually said yes, not because it solved everything, but because it felt aligned with who he was. The transition was not instant. He still worked nights for a while, still packed lunches and walked tired, but slowly, life shifted. He was home more. His daughter slept easier. The constant edge of fear softened. The woman recovered fully, and though they did not become close, their paths crossed once more in passing, enough for a quiet smile that carried shared understanding. He never told his daughter the full story, only that helping people mattered, even when it was hard. She absorbed that lesson the way children do, without skepticism, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. As months turned into a year, he realized that the job he had once believed was his dream would have given him stability, but not meaning. What he gained instead was something deeper, a reminder that integrity could shape a future as powerfully as ambition. The rain-soaked morning became a private landmark in his memory, the moment when he learned that doing the right thing might break your heart briefly, but it would never leave you empty. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness still has a place in a rushed and tired world, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to channel name, so more stories like this can reach people who need them. And before this story ends, we have one special request for you. Please comment below about a time when choosing kindness changed your life or someone else's, because your words might be the encouragement another viewer is waiting for. In the end, the single father never saw himself as a hero, only as a man who stopped when someone needed him. Yet 5 hours after he thought he had lost everything, life quietly proved that no act of goodness is ever truly wasted, and that sometimes, when you miss one dream for the sake of another person, you discover a better one waiting just ahead.